everybody. Let's do some work with hip circles. Now, this is an area we've been focusing on a fair bit for the last few months of class. And the idea here is that all movement in Chuan Gong Fu, especially in northern styles, is based on the idea of drawing movement up from the ground, accelerating it and guiding it through various structures in the body, and having it release the upper extremities and out generally through the hands, right? To do this, we start with 3 basic areas of postural alignment, and those are grabbing the ground with the feet, drawing the umbilicus towards the lumbar gently, and raising the head neck, okay? Earth, person, heaven. From here we get suspension of the draw of the neck as the spine straightens and elongates. We get the draw of that belly to the middle, helping to bridge the gap from the upper and the lower. And we have the feet grabbing onto the ground, giving us that strong root from which to move, okay? So, from that foot grab, belly engagement, and head lift, we next begin by isolating our right hip. And we're gonna start with an outwards rotation. So again, the left hip's gonna move. My predominant focus is allowing that right hip to make a big, big arc. If I'm working on this for the first time, it's totally okay if my postural elements kind of go by the wayside as I try to figure out the first question of what is hip, how does hip move? Once I start to feel a little more comfortable with this basic roll, then I can start adding in the foot grab. And as I begin to notice this foot grab, all of a sudden the amplitude of the movement begins to decrease, right? If I don't grab with the feet, great big circles, whole body's kind of wobbly. As soon as I grab with those toes, things begin to find a bit more of a focus. The foot grab is a really cool thing. Above, you see a bunch of pictures. 3 out of those 5 are teachers of mine in Beijing. They don't agree on much. They're all pretty sure their technology is the best, but they all agree on a couple of things. And 3 of those rather, are that foot grab, that belly draw, and that neck raise. So for 3 people who fundamentally disagree on most stuff, find areas of kind of commonality, that's the stuff you really want to pay attention to in martial arts. So again, that foot grab's online, the amplitude decreases, I get a bit more control in that rotation. From here, I draw that belly in. And now I can feel that movement of the hip coming in through my stomach, traversing that middle, and beginning to affect the upper. And I can take, upwards of a minute just playing this one place to try to feel how that draw comes through the center and becomes accessible on the top. Raising the head, neck, gives that deeper posture, and now everything begins to find a nice balance, and the movement really becomes quite comfortable. Next, I go to that other leg. And again, as I work on figuring out what is hip, I don't worry about the other stuff. One thing at a time is plenty. Find that movement, find that circle. I can look at the hip, trying to see how it's rotating in space. I want to be drawing a complete circle with that trochanter, that little bone right here at the very top of my femur. Once that circle's feeling good, I start adding in those postural elements. The first, again, is I grab with the feet. Instantly, the amplitude of my movement begins to decrease. Next, I draw in that alignment of the belly, drawing the belly to the lumbar spine. Now, I begin to feel that hip roll traversing up my body, but it gets a bit stuck in the chest and hunched over looking at my hip. So here's where I really want to start playing with trusting my hip is still there, even if I can't see it, and raising that head and neck so all this movement has a clear channel to go all the way up and through my body. And I'm just going to play with this until all those things feel nice and comfy. If I get sore and tired, I can of course shake it out and walk around and come back to it a little bit later. Once both hips feel good, I'm going to start describing a figure 8, roll to roll. I'm using the hands here again to illustrate what's happening in that hip so it's easier to identify. In the beginning, just like when I was doing the single leg movements, it's okay to lose the feet, the belly, and the neck, just so I can feel what is the shape, what is a horizontal figure 8 ascribed by my hips, ascribed by the opening and closing of the quad. The quad again being that inguinal groove between belly and leg. Once that movement feels a bit more comfy, then I start grabbing with the toes, which decreases the amplitude of the movement. Makes things a lot more controlled. It may feel more robotic in the beginning. I might have jolting movements, so you start to figure out how to navigate things, new parameters. That's a normal part of the process. Don't worry about it. Over time, it'll begin to smooth out. You'll begin to feel this draw and pull from foot to foot as you feel the legs engaging in new and different places, as you learn to use more and more of your structures to create this figure 8 round. From there, the umbilicus draws to the lumbar. Now the chest is getting influenced by the movement. And finally, that leap of faith of raising the head and neck up and no longer looking at my belly or feet, trusting that they are indeed still there. They've always been there. They probably haven't left yet, even in this coronavirus. And if I'm brand new to this, there's really no reason to add on anything else. I can just sit here and play with this movement back and forth for as long as I need to. So this again is the external rotation of the hips, utilizing our 3 principles of engagement, grabbing with the feet, drawing the belly to the spine, and the raising of the head and neck.